the board?
Seem to be fine.
No changes.
Then do I hear a motion to accept?
I move to accept. I'll second it.
Move made by Mr. Robbins, seconded by Mr. Smith to accept. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposition, sure it is unanimous. All right, where's the comment page?
Can you get back there to get it?
It should be back there someplace,
Say,
if
can you
somebody
pass it
could
up?
pass it forward.
We don't not hard anymore.
I knew you'd come back to me someday.
Well, it's front and back, Judge.
Close enough slap
Pardon?
down.
The page is front and back.
Cheryl Bennett? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know a lot that's been going on, but I just heard that we bought property, the Charleston, I guess. My question is, are we the only ones gonna be responsible for taking care and paying for everything? Even though the rest of the community, like East Plantation and the rest of the homeowners, will they not have any involvement or on paying for any of this?
To the best of my knowledge, what we have done to date is that we have obtained a right to purchase.
Okay,
We have not bought the land as per se.
okay,
That will happen if and when the judge makes a ruling at some point in the future, correct?
Yeah,
As a result, until that time, RPMUD will have to withstand all of the expenses, all of the
Okay.
costs.
okay,
The cost will, at some point in time, reflect themselves in water rates and taxes imposed by the RPMUD. If they exceed what we normally take in. That'll be up to, when that occurs, and that'll be up to the board at that time. Anything else?
well, I mean, I think it's a great idea. You know, I don't want homes or anything built, but I just sort of felt like it should be the whole community somehow.
It cannot be.
It cannot
By
be.
law, it cannot be.
It cannot be.
East Plantation does not participate,
Okay.
only those in RPMUD do.
Is there any way, once you say acquire the land, could it not be basically sort of
No,
sold
ma'am,
back to the
not unless it's
CIA?
offered back to the original owner.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Am I correct?
Well, I'll say, let me add two things to that, Jack, to address that. So first, we've obtained a right of possession of the property.
Okay,
We had the condemnation hearing and we've posted the amount the commissioners awarded. So RPMUD is in exclusive possession and control of the Charleston, the former Charleston course.
okay,
And that means we're responsible for it at this point. So that's what Jack is saying. So we have exclusive possession. Once the case is over, we will be vested with title, but we don't have title yet, but we have possession and control of it, and we've made a deposit, which it covers what was determined to be the value of the property by the three commissioners. Okay, so that part's over. We're responsible for the costs. Once it's all over, I think that stuff still has to be developed. I would say that there are opportunities, for example, to have cost-sharing arrangements if, for example, East Plantation wanted to have special use of the facilities or things like that. I would expect that they would pay for some of it. So that's just stuff that has to be explored ultimately, but it's paid for through the MUD, which covers most of the River Plantation community.
Only about 60%, 40% EP. Next.
It's River Plantation's park. So that's
Okay.
the best way to look at it.
okay.
But
East
it's open to the
Plantation
public.
didn't contribute a penny,
Correct.
and nor are they expected to at this time.
That's right.
Steve Turk, Steve,
I checked it, I don't have anything.
okay. Betty Brown,
I don't have anything.
Tim Horner,
Nothing.
Reese Fenster, Ron Fenster,
Ron Pinter, back here in the corner.
okay.
I'm gonna put things up here later, 'cause I know-
Come up to the front.
Yeah. My question, well, for the board attorney here, how much did the commissioners determine the value of?
So the commissioners awarded $511,000, it's a little over, I'm rounding, but it's $511,000 for the entire Charleston property, 71 acres.
All right, my understanding from one of our previous meetings, everything was talking about this being a park area to start with. And at that point, I think you and Jack both made the statement that is, once it became a park, it was open to anybody and everybody. It's not just an RP thing. This is gonna belong to the MUD. It doesn't belong to the residents of RP since this is private property that's being bought. Is that not correct?
So what I'll do is, if you'll look at, if you have a copy of the agenda, if you look at item 8, so this is a public park paid for by public funds, so it's open to the public. So we can't exclude anybody on a irrational basis. You know, we can't be discriminatory on who we let in there. But the board is going to, I assume they have to vote on this, but what they're considering tonight is authorizing my firm to prepare a set of park rules that puts limitations on who can use it, what can it be used for, when can it be used, whether there are fees to be charged for its use. And one thing that the law allows, because it's a public park, is if you violate any of the district's rules, you could be fined. So that's a good deterrent to bad behavior in a public park. So that's the way it will operate. It's not a free-for-all. It's going to be a well-regulated, organized, maintained park facility.
But it is open to anyone.
It is. So you'd have to want to come in here and go to it, but if you do, you can use it, subject to compliance with the rules.
What kind of development are we talking about for the park?
I think that's something that's being discussed and established.
That would be an ongoing subject.
Correct.
Over time will develop itself, I would think.
I know it's in park.
But
Earlier discussion,
playgrounds and
they brought
things
up
of that nature, I think is what's anticipated.
Walking
One point
trails.
they were talking about soccer fields, ballparks. Of course, with any open park, anything like that, you're gonna have parking.
There's no prohibition to anything,
Huh?
as far as that goes, as far as public use.
Say again?
The only problem you'd have is where you're gonna park.
Right, good question.
That's my question.
Where?
If it's a public
Anyway.
park, you're gonna have to supply parking.
Are you finished, Mr. Fester?
Am I finished?
Are you finished?
Not really, but go ahead, what you wanna say, I got a lot to say about it.
Well, we limit ourselves, since we've got such a crew here, 3
Should've
minutes.
been there at the commissioners meeting.
The commissioners he's referring to are appointed, they are not our county commissioners.
I understand that.
There's a
I was there at that.
3-member
hearing, that-
board
I
that was
there at the
appointed
hearing.
to hear this matter. Anyway, Mary Palsy,
Both sides of that.
nothing? Susan Knoll,
No.
Denise Waller,
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I live on Durham, and I've lived there for almost 40 years, right across from the clubhouse in Charleston. And I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, that when there's a big rain, those ditches along Charleston, I'm the lowest house of my whole square of Plantation Village Park. All that water comes over, and if anything is ever built, it will not be in our best interest. And I just want to say, I'm going to rely on the MUD, because one of the main tenets in the Texas Water Quality Board for MUDs is to adhere to the best interest of their homeowners. And believe me, there'll be lots of noise if there's an event center. Our quiet little place will be just a buzz with everything. There'll be flooding. It'll go, where's the runoff gonna go? It'll go all the way down to the sales office. The River Plantation in the beautiful Charleston that we know today will be gone. And that's my thing. And I know those of us on Bellegraph that are part of this community, they are gonna have the same problem. So for a MUD district, any MUD district, to sell a piece of land like this to a private entity and ruin all these houses, you know, that is just not in our best interest. So I stand firm on that. And if it happens, I don't think that the MUD would be operating in our best interest. I just hope, and I have confidence, that we have a good MUD board that would think about the, you know, just the quality of life that people have in River Plantation. Green space, is absolutely the most coveted thing that you can ever want to find anywhere. You can't find it anymore. It's just almost obsolete. And to take that away and turn that into another potential flooding area because we want some extra money is not going to be in our best interest. So, you know, they're supposed to have conservation as their main focus, most. They're supposed to have park areas, nice land, and keep their residents' drainage at a certain level. So that's my stand on that.
Ms. Waller, there is no intent by the MUD to sell this land.
I
We
hope
can't
that
sell it, we can't do anything with it except as a park and recreation.
Okay, well, there's a lot of talk about it, and
Well,
that's why
the
we're
talk
here.
should be dismissed,
Okay, so
as
it's
people
not
that
gonna be
don't know what they're
sold?
talking about.
Then
I
I'll be
think she's
excited if it's
referring
not
to
gonna be-
agenda item 6, Jack.
Correct.
Well,
It's on there.
Facilities.
The 3.5 acres that's on the agenda is what I'm referring to. And that is right in front of our houses, and it goes all the way down to the sales office. That is huge for us. That will have, I mean, I will actually flood, and I'll have to move, and I don't wanna do that.
do you flood today?
Almost. I flood in the back. It
Well,
comes
I'm
all
just
the-
asking, do
the
you flood
front,
today?
yes, sir, I do. Across the golf course,
Has
it's
this been
already,
brought to our attention?
it's already coming across. It's already coming across. And if y'all have that, our ditches are maxed out. On Amelia, or whatever it was just flowing across that area. And I know one person on next door said, no, we're high and dry. No, you don't live on Charleston. There's a lot of low places, and I've seen it with my own eyes. And I'm just hoping and praying that this does not come to pass. That's all I can say. Because it will ruin the livelihood of so many people in that area. Not just me,
Can we have one meeting in here, please?
but all of it. And that's all I have to say. I know other people have something to say.
Yeah.
But that's my story.
Pam Palermo?
Right here. This is the first time I've come to this meeting, so my question may not be accurate here. But when you're talking about a public park, are you talking about something like Central Park? Open to the public? Constructed, centers on the facility? Is that what you're talking about? Because I live right across the street from the Red Cells office, right down from Denise. So I'm just curious, you can have facilities on hole 1 and 9, is that your vision for recreation? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think that this is gonna be something that happens in stages with a lot of community input. It's not something that's gonna happen overnight or secretly. I represent the board, we do this in a public forum, we're not allowed to decide any of these things outside of these meetings. And so that's the good news. And so what we need to hear is your type of input. So when I say public park, it's not meant to be something scary, it's because it's paid for by the government. That means it's public property. This building is public property. But it has rules, it has specific uses, it has things you can do, things you can't do. You can't come here in the middle of the night, you can't have campfires, you can't do any of that, right? So that's what a public park will be, is it will be a facility that's open to the public, it will be highly regulated, it will have a set of posted rules, assuming the board adopts those. Again, that's on the agenda tonight. They're not wasting any time. We got possession a week and a half ago, and this is the first time they could possibly act on it, and they're already acting on it. So the plan is to put in place rules, regulations, requirements, limitations, and then develop some sort of cohesive park use that makes sense for this community.
So for your surrounding residents, like across the street, would you impose like curfew hours, increased security, curbs and gutters, lighting, noise control? I mean, will you impose those types of restrictions so that your people that live right across the street will not have their property values defaced or their quality of life decreased?
Yeah, I mean, the goal, I guess maybe goal is not the right word. The idea behind this is a preservation of the quality of life, right? It's not to make it worse. And so what you're doing is telling the board what you want in your park rules right now. So they're hearing you. I presume they're gonna authorize me to go ahead with the formal drafting of them, and based on input from you and others, that's the kind of things I would expect to be in there. Lighting limitations, use limitations, dogs on leashes, no fires, no weapons, you know, all that kind of normal stuff. We represent over 100 municipal utility districts, so we've written lots and lots of park rules, so assuming that we're authorized under that agenda item I pointed out, 8, we're gonna write some very good rules. They will be enforced. You can have law enforcement enforce them. Their signs will be posted, all of that. That's what I expect would happen.
Drainage.
Okay, next, Margaret McMahon,
McManus, yeah.
Do what?
Okay, I haven't lived here as long as Denise, but I've lived here a long time, and I have a comment about, I live in behind our little community. There's a huge open space, and I had a friend from California come out here one time, and he was like, "Oh, what are they going to build back here?" And I said, "That's the beauty of River Plantation. They can't build anything in this huge open space." And he's from California, and he was like, he couldn't believe it. So that's what we love about River Plantation, are all the open spaces. We want to keep them like that. So I don't know about the event center. I guess that's not going to happen then. I don't know for sure. Is it going to happen?
I don't know anything about an event center.
Okay, well, that was in something that came up, is what was going to be built out there. But I think the open spaces are what we love, and we want to keep them. And also, we have a problem, although where we live, my house is never flooded. There is a problem with drainage, and building anything extra in concrete, moving concrete in, and stopping up the drains that are there now, that's going to create more drainage problems. So I just wanted to say I'm really happy, and I'm thankful that I live here, and we don't like change. So I know that's part of life. There is, if you're alive, you're going to have change, but we just don't want a whole lot of change. So, that's just my two cents.
Thank you. Gary Kemp?
I don't have anything to say.
Dolores?
Yes, it was evident at the last meeting that nobody knew what I was talking about, and here I had been sending emails to Richard. Don't you get any of this correspondence to know what's going on within the community? I think it'd be a good idea, because I don't think there's that many PIRs going out there, so I think you could send them to the board so they would know what's happening. I've got a question here on that Corps of Engineers meeting that you guys had. I made a public information request on that. The MUD has no record of it. There's nothing in the files.
So,
Well, so you were saying that the Corps...
you've asked the question before.
Yeah, and I'm asking it
And
again.
and I answered it.
Well,
What's the point again?
what did you answer? What did you tell me?
I told you that we went to a meeting,
Yeah,
that there were 4 people in attendance,
okay,
plus the other people.
yeah.
And that we were told at that meeting not to do a dang thing, that there were procedures, that we were to follow those procedures.
Well, inasmuch as I couldn't get any information from the MUD, I went to one of the other people in attendance at the meeting. So I called Heather Washburn with Kevin Brady's office.
That's right.
Yes. The only thing she told me was the only thing that was discussed was repairing the lining. There was no discussion on cleaning the ditch. And there was no problem with cleaning the ditch. And for all these months, people have been getting flooded because the ditch has not been cleaned.
I don't recall.
Well, she's
What you're
got
speaking
notes,
of.
and because they did have a report. And there was no mention, when I had mentioned it before about
Well,
cleaning
I don't
ditches, she
recall there
was
was a mention
surprised.
about anything about cleaning the ditch at the time.
But you're telling us that
That's
you
what we
could
were
not
told.
clean the ditches, because you would
We
be
were
against the
under
court.
edict not to do anything under the ditch.
No,
Now, I
then,
don't want to get into this.
Well-
You're just trying to make a point for something that's already happened. The ditch has been cleaned.
Well, what I'm saying
Everything
is,
passed.
if you
Forget
get to
it.
meetings, take some other people with you, because
did.
yeah, you and Richard.
And Heather Washburn.
But she
And the-
knew there was no
and the
discussion
people that
about
knew
the
what about it.
ditches.
Anything else?
No, I think that's about it. I just want to thank all the other directors who are here working for the benefit of the district.
Tom, Linda, both of you want to speak at the same time?
No, we're fine. We do that at home.
I know that. Lulu Chapman.
No.
Carl?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First
Sure.
of all, with the purchase of the property, is that really a done deal, or can the owner, the current owner, appeal that? I guess that's a legal question.
I'll answer it best I can, and if the legal beagle over here can add to it, fine. The owner of the property has a right to protest and to appeal the findings of the Commissioner's Court. At that time, then I think it is remanded to a court of law, and then it proceeds from that point on. Am I correct?
Yeah, either side can appeal the result. So the district can appeal it and the landowner can appeal it.
Okay. And then, once it is a done deal and the court is going to decide an amount, is that right?
It depends. What happens is if it is appealed by either side, again, the district may appeal it. There is a trial, you know, just like a normal lawsuit in a year from now or whatever, 18 months, 13 months, something like that. And if someone files for a jury, then the jury decides. If no one files to have a jury, then the judge decides. And it will be Judge Claudia Laird in County Court at Law Number 2 in Conroe. She's the only judge in Montgomery County that handles condemnation. So it will either be a bench trial to the Honorable Judge Laird or a jury in front of Judge Laird. That's who will decide.
And that will decide the final amount that is paid?
It will decide a final amount. There's also, I mean, I don't want to say too much in a public setting. There's other issues that could be raised if they're done correctly, but the gist of it is to decide the amount.
Okay. So when that amount is decided, then the board will then again vote to see if we still want to do that? Is that true? Because, or do we have to go forward because we've already committed?
Well, the district has voted to acquire the property, so we're locked and loaded on that. And you know, there's any number of circumstances and things that could happen in the future that the board might want to revisit things, but they've voted, they've made the determination, and we're in the middle of a condemnation, and it's something that the board is doing. And keep in mind, the Blackburn wanted a lot more money than he received, but the commissioners awarded more money than we think is due. So if it gets appealed, we're going to be going to get a bunch of money back.
Or it can go the other way, though, right?
It could.
And if it does, we're still committed to it?
Yes.
If the court says it's $2 million, we're committed to it.
We can appeal that.
Yeah.
We don't have to accept the 2 million.
Well, I mean, I don't think we can talk legal strategy in too great a detail in this.
Well,
forum,
no,
but,
we haven't, but it's my opinion that we don't have to accept it unless we want to. We can vote at that point, and that'll depend on what the circumstances are financially.
Yeah, I mean, there's legal standards for if and when a governmental entity can abandon a condemnation project midway, so those would apply. So we would have to, if that was something that ultimately wanted to be done, we'd have to follow the law on that. So it's a technical thing. But I feel good about our case. We did very well at the hearing. They got less than a quarter of what they were asking for, and if they appeal it, or we may appeal it, I'm gonna do my best to get it for even less, and I'm very good at what I do.
And then a very different question, is it possible that park area can become a golf course?
No, not if the MUD owns it. We are prohibited from owning a golf course.
Well, Jack, if I could be slightly more precise, we can actually operate a golf course, but we can't sell bonds to fund it. So you would have to have enough non-bonded money to do it. So that may be the same thing as saying you can't do it. But but you can. It can be a golf course, but it would have to be funded by the community through the MUD, through fees or whatever. Because the only other mechanism a MUD has is issuing bonds, and they can't use bonds to operate a golf course.
All right. Kurt, Nicole.
Hi, my question is, if this does come to fruition, where are the funds coming from to pay for this, and how does it impact our reserves? So that if there is a MUD failure for equipment or something needs to be replaced, that is not impacted and we're able to make the repairs or replacements as necessary.
It comes from the coffers of the MUD. And the coffers of the mud are replenished by revenues from water and sewer, tax revenues, and if possible, if probable, which an election would have to be held, we can raise taxes, we can sell bonds, and we can go for a loan from the Texas Water Board, which they give loans for. We can go for a gift, if you want to view it as such. There are a number of avenues available for how it can be funded. The question is whether you have the time to do it once you're giving the edict to buy it.
I just want to know that there's enough, you know, maybe Richard can give us some input on that there's enough in the, there will.
Well, it's in
Health
the,
insurance
it's in our,
will be
it's
enough
in our
there.
report here, and it'll come out later in this meeting
Okay,
as to how much we have in reserve.
okay,
Anything else?
thank you.
Ted Allen,
I have no comment.
Gloria? No. Sam Jones,
Question's already been asked. Thank you.
Joe?
I envision, and correct me if I'm wrong, it is the area to look like a green belt similar that's what's adjoining number 4 Biloxi. Is that correct?
I wouldn't have the vaguest idea. It hadn't been decided at this point in time what to do with anything. We just found
The
out,
Frisbee Park, you're talking about, on the right
Yeah,
side of the
yeah,
field?
yeah. You know, they got walkways along there and they play Frisbee and stuff like that.
yeah, I haven't the vaguest idea, nor, we just got awarded this on the 7th of January, 6th of January, so it has not come up
But
before
we're
this board.
thinking green belt type area.
I would assume.
Okay.
Jack, I got one question I forgot to ask, though, that just came up. The maintenance of it, you've got an option on it,
That's on the mud.
so is there a plan in the near future to mow it? I mean, just basic,
That is to be discussed at the meeting later on.
One lightning strike will clear it all out.
Yeah, well, let me just add.
Or an Australian outback fire.
Yeah, we don't want that. It's item 7, so the cumbersome thing about governmental affairs like this is the board has to do new business through a meeting. And so it would have already been mowed, except that you have to have the meeting to authorize all that. So that's on the agenda tonight. I assume it'll pass, and once it's done, what is up for consideration is a regular mowing and maintenance schedule. So once they delegate to Richard that authority, we don't have to wait for a meeting to do it anymore.
One other thing, Jack, Jaws down there. Since we're gonna have both sides of that, are we gonna be responsible for maintaining that creek or?
Yes, sir.
We are?
Yep.
So we're talking about possibly bulkheading it or something?
Isn't that the county creek?
No.
I believe it is.
Engineers takes care of it.
Yeah,
Not to my knowledge. They don't,
I don't think it's us.
they won't do a thing with it.
No,
Nobody claimed it.
Corps won't do anything with
The
these.
county wouldn't do anything about it. They won't even remove the tree that's about to go down the
Right.
bridge.
That's because they were waiting for.
They won't until they talk to the owner of the land, because they have to step on that person's land to do
Right.
it.
But that's just happened.
Huh?
Yeah, so you're back again.
Yes,
Tree's
sir.
been down for-
One quick question. It seems to be that for the Charleston, everything is mainly for park space, green space, to stay open like that. Why then are we involved as a MUD? Why didn't they work something out with RPCIA to keep it that way? Why did we step in and condemn on that?
RPCIA, to my knowledge, doesn't have the right of eminent domain.
That's not the question. I know they don't have.
Well, that's the reason why.
Why didn't they work something out with Mr. Blackwell? to
Well,
keep it
that-
open and
that's-
everything?
I can't answer that question. I have no knowledge.
How did we get involved to condemn it? Why did we?
Somebody brought it up that was the thing to do.
Is it?
It's your opinion.
For what reason?
Yeah, I've already voted. You know my opinion. Next question to Mark Denham.
Yes, in fact, picking right back up with the same conversation. In fact, I praise the board for making that decision because of flood mitigation. It is a huge concern, obviously, in this neighborhood, and more homes will flood if we start putting more pieces of building, more footprints of foundation and so forth. So I'm glad that this decision was finally made. I support it. And of course, what I envision when I hear people say park, that's just a very loose term, but again, it's already been mentioned. Green space, of course, with the dog walking and just the walking and the bicycling and the whole thing, right? Not bringing in more infrastructure, because that is, for the most part, a flood area anyway. So you can't build up this area, because it just goes back to the original problem that we have. In addition to where it'd be nice to even look at maybe sanctuary for a lot of these beautiful birds that we have around here. So, you know, it could be water features, whatever, low, depth water features and that kind of thing. But anyway, these are just things that I'm throwing out. So I am concerned about whatever's going to be brought up. You know, it's out of order as far as me being able to talk about it, because I only see it on the agenda. So the 3.45 acres is a concern. Whatever discussion's going to come out about that, I would just like to say that the decision, the piece of property that has already been voted on, and my support, my desire, my prayer, is that y'all keep that property and don't be slicing it up. Because that was the whole reason to do this, is for the protection of the homeowners, for the mitigation of the flood issues that we have in our community. And if we start slicing it up and kind of changing our opinion on different pieces of property, then that could just come back and haunt us again. So that is, if I had a vote, that's what I'd be saying. Do not reverse your original decision.
I want to address that real quick, just to make sure everybody knows what something that the board has put on this agenda because it is intending to do something.
Yes.
It is against the law for the to meet secretly outside of a meeting. So the genesis of that agenda item is the owner of the River Plantation Country Club. It has asked that we consider something like that, so it's on the agenda, but you should know that there is no plan that the board has predating this meeting to do anything like that. So
I very much appreciate that, but since we don't know that, and I'm sure that's probably why many of us have shown up here, because we don't know, so we just thought, okay, this is a public forum, let's share our concerns with the board, and then hopefully the right decision will be made.
The board wants to hear that. You should read this at any time, and I'm sorry to say this, maybe it makes the meetings longer, but anytime you see something on this agenda you want to talk about, you should come. It is your public duty. And you are also, the park is the addition of a major facility to what this entity does. So you're the eyes and ears on the ground. If you see a tree, you see a problem, let this board know. Because Richard, he will be doing his job and his best, but we need your help because the idea is to preserve things out there. Keep it safe, keep it green. So I think you're doing the right thing by being here.
Thank you.
Do we actually have to try to go and get public funds for a park? Can't we just keep it mowed, use walking trails, and make it just RP?
That is something that will come up in time as we elect to do what we want to do, or what the board elects to do, what they wish to do with the land itself. And your input will be wanted at that time.
So just to clarify here, for the 3.5 acres, if someone requests, like the club owner, he wants to have a parcel that would benefit his business, can the public entities sell off pieces of that?
No, sir.
No, we can't.
No.
We don't even own title to it yet.
But if you had title?
If we had
No, sir,
title,
we don't.
we couldn't at that time either, because there are statutes that apply when it's publicly owned property to keep, I say insider trading, that's not the right phrase, but that brings to mind the right ideas. So you have to have public bidding and auctions and all this kind of stuff. So this was just a request to consider something, but this board can't sell it today, and when the case is over, they can't sell it outside of a public auction and those kind of things, which I think they would probably still look to receive community input on whether that was something that they'd wanna do.
So I'm curious then, why wasn't this person who approached with the idea just said, look, this is not something we can do, so why would it end up on the agenda?
I mean, I don't know that I can answer that. Lots of things get on the agenda that don't amount to anything. I think that from my perspective, I'm speaking as the lawyer for the district, I see it on the agenda because it involves the property that's hotly contested in this community. And so I think the board is wise for at least seeing what's going on. The only way they can find this stuff out between the 5 of them is in a meeting. It's actually against the law if more than 2 of them meet about it outside of this meeting. So by having something on the agenda, it allows everyone to learn about it, understand what's being proposed, and then they can just not take any action on it if it's not something they can legally do. It's a cumbersome, awkward process, but it's what the way the government has to work, so that way y'all can know about it.
I have a quick question too. Not that I can be at all these meetings, but are you bound to, what are your requirements to notify the residents here if a decision is made to develop that 3 acres? What are you bound to do for the residents? What are you required to do for us as far as notification?
The way that would work is we have to post an agenda, right, that tells you there's an issue for possible action. And you have to put it on the agenda, you have to have the right language, and you have to post it at least 72 hours before the time of the meeting. Then the board has to have a quorum, which means at least 3 people here. And then you need at least 3 votes to approve anything. And so if something were ever approved on whatever the topic is, that whatever the results of that then have to be reflected in the official minutes of the meeting, and those minutes are made available to the public. So that's how you have to sort of follow that process, and it's all on the RPMUD website to my knowledge. So that's where you would look. The agendas and the minutes are on the website. That's where the board speaks, is through the minutes.
All right, the other comments there are no more comments made here, so we'll close that section.
Could I mention something?
Then,
Not being out of order.
you're out of order?
That's a public announcement. There's another board meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the Lone Star Convention Center. It's hosted by the San Jacinto River Department. And believe me, there are people up there on Lake Conroe that have a program called Stop the Drop. And if we have an interest, we need to be there as a community, along with the people from Humboldt and Kingwood and all, our small.
Well, that was one reason we scheduled the meeting for 4 o'clock today, because we were gonna schedule it for tomorrow night. And I wanted to make sure that anybody that wanted to go could go.
Yeah, they've got buses.
All right, anything else? Anyway, we've had enough. That's had enough comments. I think everybody's got it out of their system now, and got their say. So we will discuss and approve.
I was at the top of that.
What?
I was at the very last. Go to Jamie.
Well, you're not in a space.
Well, because there was no more spaces.
They ran out of parking spaces there.
Well, they weren't on the back yet, so I thought, oh, I'll just put my name up here.
What do you need?
I was just gonna make a statement. So, what I wanted to do is first, I wanted to thank you. And I'm gonna get emotional. Thank you for doing this. Because what you're doing is you're protecting not only Plantation Village, Bellingrath, Natchez Park, Louisiana Park, Atlanta, all those parks along along Charleston. You're protecting those homes. Because after Harvey, I had scientists, I had professors that had received grants to study us, and people were coming in here and taking measurements and studying, topographers who actually determine how the water flows and how things flood. And they all explained to me that it was imperative that the drainage be right on the golf course. And I know there's drainage on the golf course because when the golf course was first established, the Army Corps of Engineers came in and they mandated that they put this drainage under that. And I've seen it firsthand, I've seen it. And, because it's right there just beyond Tom Phillips, and that area has failed. The pipe has broken. And that's why Tom Phillips takes in all the water. So, I want to commend you. I want to thank you, because now you are the keeper of all these homes and all these people's livelihood. And if you had been through the devastation that I had to work through for Harvey, you'd understand. And I know you guys live here, but until you're actually there day and night, working with these people, holding their hands, hugging them while they're crying, grown men crying because they flooded, you don't understand that. And after Imelda, furthermore, after Imelda, we had areas in the community that flooded. These homes took in water, and it was because of drainage. Now, I went to the East Plantation Mud, and I'm doing the same with you guys. I'm real quick. There are some drains that need to be cleaned out. And my question to you guys is, do you have a schedule in cleaning those things out? And when do you do that and all that kind of thing? Because there are homes that are taking on water that had never even took on water during Harvey, but right now, the county came out, we identified a couple of areas already where the mud has some blockage to some drains that need to be addressed. And they're coming out again this week to meet with me again. So my question is do you guys know where all these places are? And what is your schedule to clean those things out? Do you have a plan, and is that implemented? But again, thank you guys.
Okay, the storm drains in the system are scattered all over the place. Some I have on print, some I don't. Some I'm still finding. As far as the maintenance of them, really what I need is your help. If you have a problem in a drainage area, first thing to do is call the office, because that's a hot spot that we need to look at. The pipes and the drains, so long as they're flowing, will actually clean themselves out, provided there's no blockages in there. My crew goes out normally before every rain and make sure the grates are cleared. Now, once the rain starts, understandably, they're gonna get clogged again with all the debris that goes down. So after the storm, we usually go back again and clear all the grates from the storm. So it's an issue that we watch all the time. But if your house has an issue, and I've gone out on quite a few of these to look at them, some of them are elevation issues that are not pertaining to the drainage, but it's elevation in the lots and stuff, which there's nothing we can do about that. But if it pertains to the system itself, that we can work on and look at. And you know, our job is to keep them all open, you're right, and that's what we're doing. We've got to spend a lot of money here pretty soon to replace a lot of them and line them in section 1 especially, because all of those are deteriorating now. And
One thing, Richard, that would help, let me interrupt you real quick. People that have their drains under their driveway clogged up, filled up, they need to call the county. If we get all that stuff flowing, it's gonna make it a lot easier, but nobody's gonna do it unless you call the county and have them come out and clean that area and make your ditch real nice where it's flowing through.
Right. That's a good point he brings up that a lot of people don't understand. The district is not responsible for your culverts, the county is. So you need to call them, and the ditch lines, anything along the road, the county's responsible. We're only responsible for the main drainage system, the collection boxes that take it from the road and take it out. So that's what I'm saying, if you have an issue, call me first. I'll be glad to go out there and I'll be able to determine whose responsibility it is real quick. We have, you know, like I hear sometimes, well, people's houses flood. We don't get those calls in the office, so, you know, we don't really know it. You know, sometimes I'll stand there and say, well, wait a minute, what house flooded? We don't have a report on it.
Well, we get the call.
Yeah.
And
But-
then the next thing we do is go out and look at it, and then we figure out whose responsibility it is.
That's correct.
And
But-
usually I call the commissioner first.
Right.
And then we've called you a few times, but there still are some issues.
Yeah. So call the office so I can get it on record and then we can go out and look at the situation.
Okay.
Can I piggyback onto hers?
Go ahead.
Even though I didn't know she was gonna do this, I knew somebody was. I want y'all to look at those. Richard, that's the ditch I called you on 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Those are pictures that were taken today.
And where is this?
It's on the pipeline, off of Stonewall, that Jubal Early flows to.
Right.
That Jubal
This is
Early
in the
has
back
no.
that we went a month ago and traipsed up and down?
Yeah,
Yeah.
still looks like that today. Those are pictures that were taken this morning.
Yeah.
Jubal Early, when it drains is supposed to drain into that, and it can't.
And Williamsburg Park.
Well, it's ours.
That needs to be cleaned out in there.
Yeah, we need to clean that out. We gotta get some good weather to get in there. I've already looked at it because the footing is so bad here, it's so full of mud and stuff that we're gonna have to contract that out.
Yeah, we were contacted, almost 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I
But
was
Richard,
just saying,
you
I
can't tell a
contacted him.
homeowner to put in French drains when she's never flooded before, and because that's not cleaned out, that's not her responsibility.
And I contacted Richard on January 6th, January 3rd.
Well, I know for a fact
Went
that
back out today.
the problem is that it's, some of it is inside EP, some of it is not.
This is not EP.
I was gonna say, not over there with
District,
BEP.
yeah.
Some of it is in the back of people's yards where we have no right of way.
That's not in somebody's backyard, because there's fences. So,
I'm just talking about the overall condition. This is what,
okay. But there's probably a foot of standing water that's not moving.
there's that when you
Because
cross
it can't.
Jubal Early.
What?
There's that when you
It's
cross
not in
Jubal
that-
Early.
It's not Jubal Early, it's behind
Well, I
Jubal
didn't
Early.
say it was.
It's where
I just
Jubal
said
Early
there's a
drains.
standing water there on Jubal Early when you cross it.
Yeah, enough said.
All right, let's go on to the next item, which is to discuss and approve the Montgomery County Election Service Agreement and Joint Election Agreement. There is a, huh?
You missed one. Number 3.
Three. Skip 3.
Oh, order for election of director, yeah. It's right here. Notice of public meeting, notice is hereby given to all interested members of the public that the board of directors of the Caption District will hold a public meeting at 610 River Plantation Drive, Conroe 77302. The meeting will be held at 4 p.m. on Monday, January 20th. Subject of the meeting is to consider and act on the following: adopt order calling director's election. Do I hear a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion that we adopt it.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right, motion been made and seconded to call for an election for director. All in favor?
Aye.
There's, 3 of those that you and Tim have to sign.
Pardon?
There's 3 of them, copies that you have to sign. One stays in the office, one
Where
goes
are
to the
they?
county. I had them on the table there.
Yeah,
There they are.
there they are, okay. Set them over here where it's on the.
Yep.
All right, shall we retire into executive session to discuss the real matter, real estate matter?
Start coming back.
When I signed, I didn't bring my
Guys giving me business about my dog.
Yeah, I know.
I have a little Shih Tzu.
All right, everybody, please.
Lost half a pound.
We've all had our rest and respite, I hope everybody else did. On to the agenda, we have discussed or approved the exclusion of the acreage from the Charleston court proceedings. That matter is to be delayed until a later date.
What number is
7,
that?
discuss, approve
Okay, I
district
got
funds for newly acquired property. Okay?
So, Jack, if I'll just get y'all started so you know why this is here. This is a new agenda item, and I think once you, assuming you take action tonight, it will fall under Richard's disposition from now on. You won't need to see this again. Now that you are in possession of the golf course, the former golf course property, you need to make some basic authorizations to allow Richard to do periodic mowing, to have insurance, take care of the bare necessities for it. And so that's what this is meant to cover. So whoever has discussion on this.
I will tell you, I was able to get a quote from a homeowner here, I believe he's a homeowner here in RP, and because he wants it mowed as badly as everyone else wants it mowed, he quoted us $1,500 to mow it initially, and then I believe that's an ongoing once a month fee to mow the 74 acres. and Richard has you have that quote that he
Yes.
sent? Okay. Richard sent a quote for
He-
he sent Richard a quote,
You have a quotation.
Yes,
yes.
Have you acquired any other quotation?
yes. Another one from, land,
Have you got any others? Just two?
just the two so far, yes.
Do you anticipate getting others?
Yes, as soon as the board gives me direction on which way to
Well, the
go.
board's
and
giving you
consider
direction
it,
right now. I mean, I think we're giving you approval to do these things. If this a resolution, so as a resolution,
Yes.
then I say we approve district funds for newly acquired property pending, to be used for expenses for insurance coverage and expenses for mowing. Do I hear a second to that resolution?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then you now have authority to do that. When can you expect to have all of this done?
I've already got insurance on the two of them, so that I can, make a phone call and they can get started on it.
All right, well, that's up to you. You're the operator.
When can we expect to get it mowed?
I'll call them tomorrow.
To-
And I'll give-
They'll mow it tomorrow?
Give them the authorization to start.
Actually, is the gentleman that I sent to you the lowest bid so far?
So far, he's the
Okay,
lowest bid.
he's ready to go as soon as we
That's what I'm saying.
call him.
just
I would
call
just, the only thing I would add, board members, is that, Richard, I think you should follow your normal process for that kind of
Three
stuff.
bids.
This isn't
That's
like
right.
a
Yeah.
special deal because it's a
Right.
neighbor, it has to be treated.
Well, no, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
why I
it
was
needs to
asking if
be
he was a low bid.
documents signed, so there's no liability, all that kind
Mm-hmm.
of, your normal process for this, okay? Yeah, that's fine, okay, cool.
That's the reason for taking the bids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Item 8, consider adopting an order establishing rules and regulations for district parks and recreation facilities and establishing penalties for violations thereof, and take action as necessary.
Yes.
I make a motion that we.
I second the motion.
I make a motion that we have them proceed with rules.
Okay?
And I second.
And you second, yes. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The motion passed. Do we have some rules and regulations to go by, dear council?
Sorry?
Do we have certain rules and regulations that you wish us to go by?
Okay, on the park rules, so the issue that I have there is I would like, sort of what you've just done, is authorize my firm officially to prepare park rules and regulations for your official adoption at the next meeting, I would assume. And we've heard public input tonight. If there's anything particular you'd like us to focus on, now would be the time to tell me that. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll pull together what we think are the most appropriate, best set of rules and regulations for your consideration.
All right, then I will consider a motion to have the Smith, Murtaugh, et cetera, law firm prepare said rules and regulations for the district be presented at the next board meeting.
I would suggest, before we make that motion, that we utilize some of the suggestions from the audience today also that you heard.
Sure.
You know, whether it's time of day and night that it's allowed to be used and lighting and things like that.
And I'd like to have a sign regulation in there so we don't get garage sale signs.
Okay, perfect.
Whatever else.
Well, a lot of those minute items will have to be, we'll take them up when we adopt them. When we adopt the rules.
So
Anyway,
so the motion
the
is
motion
being
has
made.
been called,
I second.
and the motion's been seconded. All
Aye.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Yes, sir.
Now, review the financial and bookkeeping
There's a
matters
question there in
including.
the back.
Wait,
Are we,
excuse me, this is a board meeting. No more comments, please, from the comments.
how can we do?
Excuse us. Review the financial and bookkeeping matters including review of the bookkeeper's report. And somebody mentioned the fact they'd like to know what the financial condition was.
Yep.
If I can find it.
Oh, she's here. I thought it was Nicole.
She left.
She left.
That's just taxes.
It's on the investment.
First page.
Yeah. Here it is, I finally got to the right, in the right chew. All right, we have, I assume these are up to date,
Yes, sir.
as of date,
As of Friday.
last Friday. We have 2.6 million in the bank in various accounts. And
And that, is that after the 500, that's after the $500,000 check?
I would imagine,
Is this listed on here?
yeah.
Yeah. I circled that, I don't know what it was. No, I know.
But we have ongoing, if you will, we have roughly $250,000 ongoing with the water well number 2, which is still offline, by the way. We have, by the way, Richard, I want to report on I know it's not on the agenda at this point in time, but it would go along with your operational report, is I understood that the consultant filed with the U.S. Corps of Engineers a new permit recently. What's the status?
I've already sent it to him, I've already signed it.
Well, I know, but what, have you heard back from anything about
He's
it?
received it and reviewing it, and he'll start the process.
And the process is they advertise for 30 days, and then they wait for 30 days. and then-
Analyze it, go over the stream assessment.
Yeah.
And then publicize it.
Yeah. That has to do with our concrete line ditch. In addition to that, we have a sewer plant that is in need of repairs, which we're taking bids at the present time, is that correct?
No, we're not at the bid process yet. We're
They're
still in
just
design.
preparing the bid proposal package.
Right, we're still
Okay.
finalizing designs and then coming up.
Which the estimate by the engineers was something around $1 million. Anyway, that'll be undertaken, that has been approved, but it'll be undertaken within the next probably 3 months. Are there any questions by the board about looks like we recovered about half the tax money, or a little better than what we were due.
Back on track.
Any questions on the bookkeeper's report at all?
Well,
And the money, Richard, where'd you go?
Sir, right
The money was withdrawn out of TML, is that correct?
here. No, it was Texas Star, Texas class.
So you took out of a CD?
No, it's our.
Oh, Texas Star, that's part of the
Texas class,
municipal
yeah.
stuff, right?
Right.
Okay, excuse me, just a different name. Yeah, all right, and if there's no more comments about that, we'll go on to the review, the administrative report. Richard, you had several things you wish to bring up?
Just as we were talking about earlier, an update on water plant number 2. They're continuing jetting the screens, and the EM tests are all back, and the liner's already been, is already here, the pump's already been ordered. They should finish with the cleaning and the processing within it, by next 2 weeks, he said. And then they'll start prepping the casing to put down the new casing. And I'm estimating the plant will be back online hopefully in a month and a half at max. That project will end up costing us almost $300,000 by the time we're done with it. big time, not only from the construction cost that was initially proposed, but plus the additional testing we did, plus some other issues that are coming up now, which are minor, but still. The total cost, I'm assuming, is gonna be around $300,000. As Jack pointed out, the wastewater treatment plant, I'm also working with the engineers now, we're finalizing all of the design criteria and putting together the bid package, and that will be presented at the next board meeting for approval. And then we'll go out to bid and start that project. That's gonna be, as he said, about $1 million.
Of which some of it gets paid by East
$400,000 will be paid by each.
40% is.
40%.
Exactly, yes. So, we'll have to shell it out and then they'll pay us back, so.
Right.
But, so those two projects are already ongoing and well on the way. The reason I had, I should say, an agreement with that agenda item about authorizing funds, I need board's direction now on what to do with the property, how you want it maintained, so I can start putting together scheduling and budgeting issues.
Once we get the report back from the attorneys, and what we're gonna do as far as the park and recreation deal, it's pretty well been ascertained that you're given the go-ahead to start having it mowed.
Right.
So I would wait to do any permanent planning, other than just cursory things at the present time, just cosmetic.
Okay.
And wait till the next board meeting, at which time you should be given more direction. Does the board concur?
Yeah, the only thing I would add, Jack, is just, I think it would be good to have what I would call an inspection of the property, so as you're going through and getting cleaned up where you can see it better, let's go ahead and
Right.
start identifying some of the trouble spots.
Because there's a lot of trash pickup we'll have to do,
Yeah,
dead
exactly.
trees, all kinds of bulk material I have to get out of the way.
You don't have to
Yeah.
make a detailed list. We've all observed it to some degree.
All right.
Okay? Anything else? I'll take it that's your manager's report.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can I ask a question? Are we
Sure.
going to the system total reports now?
Sure.
Okay. How do we get a negative collection accounts?
Remember what I told you, about twice a year that'll happen? It's just the time that we're reading them and the time that the pumps are being, that the wells are being inputted. It's an overlap that happens roughly twice a year. And that's it. The next month you'll see it'll be way over. And then-
You're talking about this one?
No, I'm talking about this
Oh, I
one.
don't care about that one, I'm talking about this one.
Well, that's not, I look at this, you're talking about the turn off on
No,
meters.
no, that's this one. Amount owed.
Overpayments.
How do we have an amount owed of that?
Let me see. Number of unread, oh,
No, it's right here.
yeah, no, but it's collection accounts.
Amount owed.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the total of the people that, like they add, let's say they close their account and they owe us 15 or 16 bucks.
Well, this shows we owe them money.
That's right.
Well, right now, we do owe people money right now. We've had a bunch of turnoffs and we owe them money. That's gonna come out in this report and then you're signing the
Oh, on
checks
the
right there.
deposit?
Yeah, and then that's the deposit refunds. And you send them out.
Which we just
So this is
signed.
just return of deposit,
Exactly,
basically.
yeah. Those are the signs, the checks that you're signing, so I can send them out. Yeah.
Okay.
323 accounts.
999.
Well, that's a
I
total.
Well,
wasn't
that's
paying
total
attention
too.
to that. That's obviously wrong.
Yeah.
We don't have 999 accounts anymore.
So we've only got one customer using over 50,000 gallons now.
We got our point?
This is winter.
Yeah.
All the more reason to
Yeah.
wonder.
I agree.
It's been wet.
One customer.
What gets you is there's still 10
There's
above
still-
30,000,
yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what gets you.
Yeah. But at least we don't have 5 or 6 at 50,000.
Yeah. What else?
I think that's okay.
System report? All right, camera use. You have something to present, Richard?
Yes, sir. I thought I handed it out.
You did?
Data link. Data link?
Data Link is the company that I called in to give us an observation and give him his recommendations.
Would you step around so you can speak?
Actually, he was here a couple times, and this is the final. We edited some stuff out and then put some stuff in. Since the plants are all in isolated situations and some, they have no communications, he had to break it out this way. And I understand, because the last guy I had was telling me the same thing. How are you gonna communicate with these plants back to the office? So I narrowed it down to this system here because it will record everything. It's got cameras, and we won't have to pay a monthly fee for it. It'll just run automatically. We have a problem, we can go there, it'll trip it, and it'll send an alarm out.
How does that work where we never get a monthly fee?
Because these are self-contained and they'll go through my alarm system. So what I'll do is I'll put phone lines in there, which I'm gonna do anyway, because I'm putting in monitors to watch the plants.
Right.
And these systems that I asked him to do, which he changed, that's where we were changing stuff around, will have what's called a dry contact. If something happens, if the motion sensor picks up something or something is out of the ordinary, it'll send a signal to my control alarm panel, and it will telephone dial me out and let me know what's going on. But we don't have to have a monthly fee for this service because it's an independent service.
Okay.
It's a system running on its own.
Okay.
So we're talking about roughly $10,000 plus a little bit of in-house labor.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. I looked at a couple other ones, but when you start looking at, do you want to communicate by cell? Well, now you got a monthly fee every time, and it's for each location. You want to go by radio? Well, now you got to set up towers and booster stations and stuff, and then you got to pay for the license and the annual fees for that. I said, forget it. Let's just make it so that each one's an independent station.
What's the retention time on those?
I think he said it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks, so you can go back 2 weeks.
And it's digital
on
and
an event.
automatically, yeah.
Now.
We can change it and do some more if we want to.
Okay. Can you record that 2 weeks for posterity?
Yep. You can download it, it's all digital.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? How many bids did you get?
2.
2.
The other one was,
You're running lax. I always like 3.
yeah, I know.
You're getting lazy.
I can get another one, it's just that they're all getting more and more expensive, so.
Anyway. Anybody have any questions?
I need to recuse myself. This is one of my clients. I need to recuse myself from voting.
Okay. So be it. Do I hear a motion to accept this resolution for the cameras, to purchase these cameras and install?
I'll make a motion that we accept this bid.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, any other pending business any of the directors know of?
I'd like to comment that Richard, that before the agenda gets published, that you send it out to all the board members so that we have an opportunity to at least read it, so we don't get surprised by what may show up on it.
Yeah, I meant to bring that up, Tina had mentioned it to
Okay.
me. I need to know procedure, what this board wants to do. The normal procedure that I've been doing for 18 years is the president approves the agenda and then I post it. But, I mean, if you guys want to change it, that's up to you. But I need to know what kind of policy you want to set in place for me to follow.
Well, I think we need to have the opportunity to look at it in case there's something we want to add or something that you've put on there that maybe we asked you to put on there, but you put it on there a different way than what we asked it, or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, just something, we get it the day before or something, and then we say yes, and then Jack approves it, and
Is that a problem?
No problem. Do you want me to send it all out to all of you? Just
What I
email
do
it to
is
you?
just send a notice that it's, that you're posting it on the website. That way everybody will have a chance to look at it.
But if
No,
once it's on the
then it's
website,
public.
We don't
Then
wanna
it's
do that.
public.
Real good idea.
Well, you can't say it.
That's where we need to set up those email
It's a
addresses.
proposed.
No,
You can't
that's
say
where
it's a
we need to set
Right.
up the email addresses so we can send them to our email addresses.
Oh, all right.
Well, that's another issue I meant to bring up, so I'm glad you brought that up, Julie. Our current email provider and webpage is not gonna cut it for the things we're gonna need to get done. I can't get the emails, I keep hassling with them. Now we have other legislature, we've gotta put budgets, we've gotta put audits and everything on there now. So I'm changing companies. I've been doing some research on different web companies, and the one that seems to be the best that most all of the utilities are using in the Houston area is Off Cinco. So I've already got a bid from them, and they're gonna give us independent private emails for all of you, and they'll be under their server, so they won't be connected with any of your stuff, for the legal side of things. They'll also monitor the web page for us and keep it all up under the legal standards that we have to get. I have to provide all that information to them so they can build a web page. It's $1,500 to start, get everything running, and then after that, it'll just be a monthly fee, but they'll handle everything from that point on. All I have to do is send them the information, they'll upload it and format it and keep it up.
as long as it works the way we want it to work.
Yeah.
I assume that's well within your purview.
Yes. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that situation, and hopefully have everything ready for you at the next board meeting. They said they can get it done pretty quick, so that's.
Okay.
Off Cinco is excellent. That's who I would have recommended. So that's great.
Anybody else have
Is
anything?
that the website, and I don't go to it as often as I probably should, but is there a place on there for public comments on the website?
Yes.
So for things like the park, people wanna put their inputs, about all this stuff.
I think there's a contact us, but I don't think there's a place to.
The good thing about Off Cinco is they will customize it whatever way
Yeah.
you want it. If you want a public comment page, we just put it in there.
I think
It's
that
all
would be a
it's
good
all
idea.
included in the web design. I mean, you can go to a Cinco Ranch, .com and see how theirs is all laid out. It's really, really good, It's not cheap, but it's good.
But that would give us an avenue, like I said, for public, especially with Charleston and
Exactly.
what people would like to see and not see. And
Right. And it would alleviate the issue that we're talking about here. I mean, I could send you proof agendas through those private emails, that you're
Right.
not all connected, but yet I'm sending it to you, and it's really well done.
Right. Okay.
Anybody else have anything you'd like to bring before the board?
Yeah, you have, what's the last one? Agenda.
Nothing?
Yeah, it's a set date and time for next meeting.
Oh,
Is it,
into the
February 27th.
fourth Thursday, 4 o'clock?
let's do it
6 o'clock.
6:30 or
6:30.
6.
We keep
I think
changing.
we've been doing it 6 or 6.
Well,
No, this was a one-time deal. It's
Back
Yeah,
and
this
supposed to be
forth.
6:30.
No, this was because we had to reschedule because the CIA annual meeting is Thursday. Then we were gonna reschedule it for tomorrow night, and then Sandy Center River Authority is tomorrow night.
I say
We had
we
to
do
do today because of,
6:30 on the 27th.
6:30 on the 27th.
Is tomorrow night the one at the convention center?
Yes.
Yes.
27th of February at 6:30, is that what you're saying? Okay.
So the meetings are gonna start being at 6:30?
Yeah,
Again.
so time, yeah, we're going back to that. This was just a
This was a one-time.
This was a
one-time
one-off.
off, yeah.
So,
Anything else? Anybody have any problem with setting the meeting for that time? So be it.
Okay.
Much better.
Motion to adjourn?
Pending signing checks.
I'll motion to adjourn pending
Okay.
signing check. I already
I'll
signed
second
the
it.
check.
Second, pending check signing. All in favor? Aye.